Hello everyone, this is Jasmine aka Gladiatorinsweats, and I want to welcome all the new and returning subscribers. I hope y'all are doing well as always, and I just want to give a little bit of brief information about this castle that I referred to in my last video that began the same day as this wave spell. So I guess to just briefly recap, what the castle is. Within the Tolkien, within this, Mayan calendar, synchrometer, there are, these wave spells, the 13-day cycles. But next cycle outside of that are these bigger cycles containing 4 wave spells. So I believe that's 52 days, I believe. So this is now a 52-day cycle compromising of these 4 wave spells. And so we shifted out of the red castle that really birthed and initiated the seed, which for us, or the way that I intuit it, is really the birthing and initiating of this solar consciousness that is coming through and really being integrated within our being at this time. So as we are initiating within this white castle of crossing with the court of death, refining the warrior, I really see this as, as we had initiated the seed, we're now in the process of really transforming, or really, if we want to look at it the way we do with plants, I see this as the seed, breaking out of the shell, placing its roots into the soil, having to, break free of any of the shell and all the old parts that then become fertilizer for the flower to nourish and grow and accelerate. So that's really how I see this whole process that is representative of change and transformation and of release and surrender, as I was mentioning in the prior video as well. So just wanting to give a little bit of info, or not even really info, talk a little bit about the key shifts within this, 52 days, and then a little bit of messages, and just really leave it at that. So as I had mentioned in the past video, we'll be ushering in the new Blue Eagle season of vision. We'll also have, 2 eclipses. We'll have the solar eclipse in end of January, and then the total lunar eclipse in the beginning of February. We'll have, solstice is happening within a couple of days of this recording. We've also got Uranus moving direct. So all of this to say that there's just a lot of very pivotal transitions taking place, a lot of very monumental moments for us to really receive revelation, for us to really be able to not just receive clarity, but then act on that clarity too. So like I said, I just really see this as just very pivotal for a lot of us that have been tapping into this energy and being awakened and more aware. So just some of the messages are really just more so about relating to Pluto and really how we can really embrace this energy and really not allow ourselves to further resist this process that's not just inevitable, but that we actually want. This is something that we do actually want, and it may not appear in the face or the vanity that we feel like it should or we would like it to be. And so, the very first thing is obvious, or when we're talking about something we can't really put off or resist, is, allowing things to happen as they are, allowing things to be as they are, in the sense of, like I said in the prior video, yielding ourselves to that part of ourselves that knows beyond the Gemini-ness, the limited perception, and even allowing ourselves to forgive ourselves when we feel like we made wrong choices, and forgiving ourselves for not wanting to listen to ourselves, because I feel like that's one of the things that I think, it's not that it's overlooked, but I think as we've been talking about forgiveness and talking about how we can forgive ourselves and really allowing ourselves to just be, I think that's one thing that maybe we don't talk enough about, is allowing ourselves to just forgive ourselves for thinking that we were not worthy. Like we had to listen to someone else, or we had to listen to outside sources, or that we had to, receive some sort of validation from some sort of external source outside of our own intuition or our own gut or our own feelings, I feel like we can feel a lot of our own sort of guilt about that, about, oh, I wish I would have just listened to myself. Why didn't I listen to myself? Why did I, do this? Why did I feel this way? Why was I so dumb? These sorts of things in which, even as we're going through this process of, I feel like this is one of the ways in which, we can get looped back into feeling, those sorts of, lack of self-worth and lack of self-confidence, because again, we get into these ideas of, well, I felt that way before, or I did that before, or, what's so different about now, or whatever sorts of ideas or sorts of doubts or really sort of discouraging and disheartening questions that may come up. But even as we're talking about forgiving ourselves, and I feel like we can also forgive others, not in the sense of this idea of needing to turn a blind eye or cheek to someone, but in the sense of like forgiving others for not being who we wanted them to be. Forgiving others for not, when we think that they didn't do the right thing, we can forgive them for not doing that thing we thought was right. We can and it's not in a sense of, again, of just letting, blind passes, go to everyone or anything like that. But it's more in the sense of just really letting yourself go, letting yourself off the hook, letting yourself be free of those worries. Or it's not even of those worries, because those worries are created when we think that like we know everything, when we think that we know, or we think that we have control in the first place, when sometimes we might not. So it's just like, why be so preoccupied about these things if we don't actually know? Like, do we actually ever know? It's not even about having physical evidence, but it's really about like, do we actually know that? Do we actually believe that to be true? And we don't really have to maneuver off of these preconceived notions. We can maneuver off of what it is that we wish, or what it is that we feel would be more aligned with what we desire. And then from there we can act, and until, the truth shows us that that's not true, or, whatever the case is, we don't have to act from these negative places, and tell ourselves that, oh, it's from a realist point, or we're just trying to, stay ahead of the, the wave, in a sense of feeling like we've got to stay ahead of the struggle, or stay ahead of the obstacles, always trying to like wait, just waiting in, what's the word? Like just with a sense of like knowing that something bad is gonna happen. But this is how we don't see just how powerful the mind is, because it's like, how can you know that, your awareness did not bring that to fruition, in the sense of you were looking for that. So like that's what it is. Intention is not, isn't about really morale. It's not about a good or a bad. An intention, a focus is what it is. And so I feel, as we're talking about, this whole White Castle, we're talking about Pluto, or this Plutonic sort of signature of equalization. This is where it's like, it's not about good or bad. It's not about any of these things that we like add on to things. It's really stripping it to the bare bones, because it's truthfully the simplicity of it all that is scary. The simplicity of there being choice, of there actually this not being true, of there only being a limited number of roads, limited number of scenarios, or just a limited number of ways that anything can manifest. So I feel like, this is one of the things that we're in transition in, but overall, this White Castle is about transition. It's about us being in this middle process of, the way I feel like, not just of being in the void, but it's really this neutral space to allow to be curious, to allow to be a little bit more in awe and wonder about the what if, instead of a space of fear or anxiety. So yeah, like I said, I really just kind of want to make this short and sweet because this is really, like I said, taking place over the course of a couple of months. And so I really just wanted to say that, like, overall, with not just this, but we have solstice, which I've just been feeling this being very important since like the beginning of this year, ever since I started getting like synchronicities and messages about it. So I just really feel like this isn't about so much about like what needs to be done, or everything is about this idea of doing. Everything is about this idea of like having to be more, having to do, like, everything's about this idea of having to like find this information that is outside of ourself, or something that would be difficult in the sense of it's got to be super complex. But I feel it's the fact that these things are simple. It's the fact that our lives are overcomplicated, that we overcomplicate things, that we focus on so many different things. We remain obligated to things we don't even care about. We, like, there's just so many things in which like we don't recognize how belief is so hardwired into everything, how everything that we often do, the way in which we go about our life, how we do our day every single day, as far as like what is it that I'm going to do, like everything is based on these beliefs. And so if we can begin to question those beliefs, or if at the very end of it, throw some of the beliefs aside, if only for a moment, to allow something new, to allow something novel, something, ingenious, something very much more inspired and resonant with how you probably actually feel. So, yeah, I hope you guys, as always, are doing well and are, taking these waves in stride. So, as always, you can find me on Instagram or at my personal website at gladiatorinsweats.com or gladiatorinsweats on social media. Links to all of that are in the description box, as always. And other than that, as always, I hope you guys are doing well. And oh yeah, I did want to say one more thing. I am scheduling a small ceremony live, just really wanting to not only talk to you guys, because it's been a while since I've had a live, but I also wanted to hold a ceremony for this solstice, for this White Castle, just really for all of these motions are taking place now. Just really want to hold something for us to really symbolize this transition, and to really hold space in honoring this, and also just really focusing our intentions on what it is that really matters to us at this time, releasing things that don't matter, just really doing a lot of that sort of work. So I'm pretty sure that I'll have a time for that within the next day or so, but I know it'll be on Friday. So yeah, do stay tuned and do come hang out with me if you would like to. So yeah, other than that, until the next video, y'all, peace.